practice seminar. Please remember to fill out and turn in your blue CLE certification forms before you leave today. You'll need that to get your CLE credits. As a courtesy to the speakers, please silence your cell phones. If you need the internet, the Wi-Fi is H Honors. You would click that you have a promotion code, and the code is 1981. Our speaker for this session is Brittany Kelly. She's the Deputy Director of the Indiana Judges and Lawyers Assistance Program. She's a graduate of IU McKinney School of Law and the IU School of Social Work. She's a licensed attorney and licensed social worker with a graduate certificate in advocacy and a concentration in leadership. Prior to JLAP, Brittany served as Associate Director of the Hall Center for Law and Health at IU McKinney School of Law. Before that role, Brittany served as Marion County Public Defender, who represented clients in Marion County problem-solving courts and involuntary civil commitments. Brittany was named an up-and-coming lawyer by the Indiana Lawyer in 2022. Brittany was awarded the Coalition for Homelessness Intervention and Prevention's Volunteer of the Year in 2023. She's currently an adjunct faculty member for the McKinney School of Law, where she teaches health and human rights, and she's an active member of the Indianapolis Bar Association. Brittany enjoys spending time with her family, especially her husband and twin boys. Please welcome Brittany Kelly.
Thank you. Okay, so Amy will be presenting with me. I'm just kidding. You may have noticed we're having some technical difficulties, but that is okay because it proves everything I'm going to tell you so well. So while Amy is up here troubleshooting a little bit, the plan was actually to jump right in with an exercise. So we're going to do that. We don't need slides for that. So we're going to start off with a partner exercise, and then we're going to talk about micro-resilience. What is it? How can you use it? How can you implement it? You'll use your cards in front of you. Don't get them out quite yet, but they are yours. So we're going to have a lot of fun in this hour, with or without audio. But while they troubleshoot a little bit further, let's talk about the partner exercise. Sound good? Okay, so you need the piece of paper that says I am. And what you're going to do is get in groups. If you wouldn't mind, don't get in groups or start yet. Let me explain. Ideally, you're in pairs. If you need to get in a group of 3. If you need to get in a group of 3, that's fine, but groups much bigger than that to make this exercise take a lot longer. So what you're going to do is, so let's say these two, I think, will be partners, right? So one person will act as the scribe and the timer. So when you are the scribe and the timer, you are timing your partner for 60 seconds, and you're writing down everything that he says after the words I am. So you are thinking, what comes to mind when I hear the words I am? So for me, it might sound like mother, daughter, sister, friend, craft lover, binge TV watcher, funny, adventurous. There are no rules, okay? Nouns, verb, adjective, doesn't matter. The person that is thinking of the things, all I want you to do is be blurting them out. Your partner is writing them down and timing you for 60 seconds. When that timer goes off after 60 seconds, switch roles and give your partner a turn to do the same thing. And then we'll talk about this as a group. Any questions? Does it make sense?
You want to go first?
Okay, have fun.
West University graduate. And about raise the wall. You're supposed to be the timekeeper.
Got your water bottle, you're doing it. What would you That's when the comments go out the window for most of us. That's when the next time you're under pressure and you really need to deliver, your thoughts aren't flowing, the ideas just aren't there, you're feeling fuzzy, reach out and grab a drink.
Thank God we
Alright, how'd that go? Are any groups not done? If you're not done and you need like 10 more seconds, raise your hand. I think we can go. Okay. So, in true JLab fashion, we're going to talk about that and how that made us feel. But I have some prompts for you, don't worry. So, I love to start this exercise by asking, why do you think we did this? Any thoughts?
Irritate people.
To irritate you. I'm sorry, that was not the goal. Anybody else?
to get us to open up and probably identify what's important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. What else?
Well, we're defining ourselves as more than a job.
Yes, absolutely. Both takeaways are great. On the slide that describes the exercise, it is titled, "You Are a Whole Person," which I think is what you're getting at, right? That we're more than just our job and our role. What other thoughts on why we did this? Perspective? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. All right, some more questions for you. Where did lawyer fall on your list? Who put it first? You put it first? A couple people put it first? Second? Who put it last? Yeah, who didn't put it? Who didn't put it at all?
I like you chocolate.
Raise your hand high, you didn't put it at all. Interesting. Yeah. So there's no right or wrong. These are just observations I want us to make together. What about, is there something on your list that you're realizing you used to love to do that maybe you don't do as much anymore? Did that come up for anyone? You're shaking your head. Do you mind sharing?
I just thought of something I should have added to the list, and that has to do with music.
Okay.
Used to be in a band way back,
Mm-hmm.
but don't do that at all.
Okay. Yeah. But you wish it was on your list. There's still time. Don't worry. You can add it. Yeah, that's interesting, right? Something that maybe we used to enjoy, but we don't do as much anymore, but yet still defines us and is part of who we are. Is that something you could foster? You know, is that something you could pick up again? You think so?
Possibly.
Maybe in a new way? Yeah?
Maybe.
Yeah. What about relationships? Did any relationship type words come up for you? Do you mind sharing back there? You're nodding your head.
Oh, daughter and sister.
Uh-huh. Where were those on your list?
4th and 5th.
Okay.
Nope, 5th and 6th.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, you're a daughter and a sister every day.
They were
But
before lawyer though.
they were before lawyer? That's interesting, yeah. But sometimes what this exercise shows us is maybe there are relationships we need to foster that are important to us. I'll tell you, I started doing, so I've been with JLAP a year. I didn't say that, and I don't think that was in my bio. I started doing this exercise with law students. So take yourself back to that place. You're in law school, and law school makes us feel like all we can do, all we can think about is law school, right? So this exercise is designed to get law students out of their head. Who were you before you came to law school? You're still that person. We need you to be that multifaceted person with skills and interests outside of the law. And then it dawned on me, we all need to be hearing that message, not just the law students. So both of your takeaways were great and exactly what I had in mind, but if you're having another takeaway for yourself, another aha moment of a relationship you need to foster, something you used to really enjoy that you don't do as much anymore, this is personal and relevant to you. I think it was you that said we put our priorities in order or something like that. We're going to talk more about being a values detective today. So this was maybe our first step on that journey of being a values detective. So thank you for participating just in time to get some of our technical issues figured out. So let's jump into micro-resilience. All right, resilience. What comes to mind? Just feel free to shout at me.
Keep going.
Keep going, bounce back. Stamina, great. So we know what resilience is. The American Psychological Association defines it as our ability to overcome life's traumas, tragedies, and adversities. So what is micro-resilience? Has anyone read this book? Okay, it's great. So this whole presentation is based on, so I encourage you to read it if you like what you hear today. JLab has some copies. We're happy to loan them to you. So Bonnie St. John and her husband Alan wrote this book called Micro-Resilience. And when they were thinking, you know, are we on to something? Is micro-resilience really a thing? They came across this study of the international tennis circuit. Any tennis players? Oh, some tennis players, awesome. Recently someone asked me, does pickleball count? The answer is yes, it counts for this analogy. So any pickleball players? Okay, you got a few more, great. So they were studying the international tennis circuit. The people that won repeatedly, you know, there's just a handful of people that rise to the top on the international tennis circuit, even though there's thousands and thousands of people that play. So the authors of this study said, what are those players doing that makes them win so often? And at first they weren't finding many commonalities until they looked at their heart rates. The players that win the most often were the ones that had the ability to get their heart rate back down to baseline between points. That's the kicker. So for the tennis players that raised your hand, you know how fast a point happens. It's not a match or a set or a game, did I get that right? But a point that happens incredibly quickly. these people that were most successful were getting their heart rate back down to baseline that quickly. That is micro-resilience. How this applies to us is micro-resilience is about life's day-to-day moments. So resilience, those things we just talked about, bounce back, overcome life's traumas, tragedies, and adversities. That's, big picture resilience. We need that too. Micro-resilience is about life's day-to-day moments. So your PowerPoint doesn't have audio for the first few minutes of your presentation. There's an example. I heard that one of the speakers wasn't able to make it, so the organizers had to pivot. Let's think about driving in traffic. You get cut off. Let's think about a coworker that normally is really friendly and always says hi to you. You always have a nice little chat in the morning, and they walk by your office one day and just don't say a word. Or a judge denies your motion, right? You get a less than friendly email from opposing counsel. Your client is unhappy with you. These are examples of life's micro moments where we need these tools of micro-resilience. So we're going to get into them. But this is Bonnie St. John, so who better to tell us what micro-resilience means than Bonnie? So this is where we're going to get creative with our sound. And try to watch this video, but if you can't hear it in the back, let me know and we'll just skip it.
What is micro-resilience?
Can you hear?
I coined the term to distinguish from macro-resilience, which are the big things you need to do: get enough sleep, eat healthy, exercise on a regular basis. Macro-resilience takes weeks or months to pay off in terms of benefits to your health. Micro-resilience is about performance, hour by hour. How do you have more focus, drive, and energy? Take water, for example. The macro-resilient idea is drink 6 to 8 glasses a day. And you might be really good at that on average. You got your water bottle, you're doing it. But when you're under pressure, you have a deadline, a proposal you need to get out, or a presentation you need to give, that's when those good habits go out the window for most of us. And that's when you need it most. The next time you're under pressure and you really need to deliver and your thoughts aren't flowing, the ideas just aren't there, you're feeling fuzzy, reach out and grab a drink of water. And you'll be amazed at how much it helps you be more resilient.
How was that in the back? Could we hear? Yeah. Enough? Okay. So that's Bonnie. So as she said, micro-resilience is about life's difficult moments. So you might be thinking, oh, I got this, I drink a lot of water, I take care of myself, but I want you to challenge yourself and ask, in life's difficult moments, in those stressful moments, I'm preparing for a trial, I'm working on a big project, are you using those tools then? So now I'd like you to get out your cards. That should all be at your table. If anyone does not have a set of cards, just raise your hand and we'll get you one. You get the whole set, so the whole sleeve of cards is yours. They're all the same on the front, but different on the back. So these are yours. I want you to write on them. You also have JLAP pins out in front of you. What resonates for you isn't necessarily going to resonate for your neighbor and vice versa, so jot down things that stick out to you. With that, let's focus on card number 1 first. So you'll want to be looking at the one that says refocus your brain. It looks like this. Does anyone not have a set? We're okay? Okay, so the takeaway for each of these ingredients to micro-resilience is always going to be in the top box for you. Okay, so here it's multitasking is not the answer. Now I just said that, but I'm going to go ahead and ask, who thinks they're a great multitasker? Thank you for your honesty. I would have said the same thing. Yes, I love multitasking. I'm so good at it. It's one of my greatest strengths. Well, it turns out it's not very helpful to us. So we are going to watch another video. This one actually only has like a background song. You mostly have to read the text, so I probably just won't even hold the microphone up for this one, but let's watch this video about why multitasking is not the answer, and then we'll talk about what to do instead.
So who caught that multitasking isn't even real, it's just imaginary? It's actually just task switching. Yeah, interesting. So research shows that multitasking reduces our productivity by up to 40%. Now I know we can't always avoid it. Sometimes we have to multitask. But when we can, when we're working on something that requires our creativity, our focus, that's when we need to avoid it. So what can you do instead? Create a focus zone. So what a focus zone is about blocking out time on your calendar, establishing a quiet physical space. Now, to be honest, I'm not as worried about it being quiet. For me, a loud coffee shop works as a focus zone. It's more about what your mind and your body need to know that you are in the zone and you're going to be focused for the next however many hours. This next tip is probably my favorite. This is about setting boundaries. So telling those in your life, hey, I'm going to take the next hour to work on this brief, to get through my inbox. I'm buried in emails. I'm not getting anywhere if I keep, if my phone keeps going off. You won't hear from me for an hour. I'm all good. I'll be right back with you. How does that feel to us? Doable or difficult? Does anyone set boundaries like this now? How do you do it? You raised your hand. Do you mind sharing?
I with saying I'm not going to respond to people or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like to make up a schedule and then I'm very clear with whether it's my kids or I'm doing work and stuff and just kind of communicating that, I guess.
Yep. That's great. Yeah.
Putting downstairs, my door's closed, and I go keep.
Yep. I'm in a focus zone. That's awesome. And does your family seem to understand that?
I mean, I'm talking about toddlers.
So no.
Yeah. But sometimes, they know this, if I'm in a certain room.
Great, that's awesome. Yeah, I started recently putting, working on projects, responding to emails, those kinds of things, on my calendar, as if it were a meeting, so that people can't schedule meetings with me when I'm working on those things. So maybe that works for some of you. If you're like, nope, not there yet, can't do that, that just doesn't seem doable, my workplace would never go for that, I have to be available at all times, here's where we can start that's a little bit smaller. You can start by building this culture by saying when you go up to someone and you want to go talk to a colleague about something, you can say, may I interrupt you? And what that does is that creates this culture of giving them the space to say, actually, do you mind if I get through this? It'll just take another 5 minutes and then I'm all yours. And then I bet you they're going to return the favor. So that's someplace smaller to start, just saying, may I interrupt you before we go and talk to our colleagues. And then lastly, silence those alerts. So we can't always do this. I'm not saying you go, incommunicado for 24 hours straight. But again, if you need to carve out an hour where you just need to hammer something out, the more time you spend looking at your phone every time it dings, looking at your email every time it dings, your productivity goes down by 40%. Who's heard of decision fatigue? Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory in the title. So I'm going to tell you about a study that the authors of Micro-Resilience give us in the book. It has to do with a group of judges that were studied, and they were studying the judge's likelihood of granting a defendant's parole. Now, what you have to accept as true for me in this study is that granting parole requires more mental gymnastics. Denying parole is the status quo decision, okay? Now, they tried to hold true for defendants' demographics and the charge. So, all that said, they tried to really just look at the time of day that the case was heard. I'm going to give you 3 times a day, and you're going to vote for me when you think the defendant was most likely to get their parole granted. First thing in the morning, right before lunch, end of day. Who thinks first thing in the morning? A lot of hands for that one. Right before lunch? One little discreet voter back there. End of day. Couple for that. So first thing in the morning, got it, you're right. We're our freshest in the morning. Actually, what the study showed was the chances were highest in the morning. They dipped significantly right before lunch. The chances of getting parole went right back to where they had started in the morning, right after lunch. And then they dipped, or they declined steadily throughout the rest of the day. So, Pay attention to your decision fatigue level. Try to schedule your difficult decisions in the morning. Again, that's not always possible. So instead, can you ask yourself, have I moved my body? Have I taken a drink of water? Have I eaten something? This is going to be a taxing decision. So those are some things you can do if it's not the morning. We can simplify our routines. So is there some, first of all, who loves a good checklist? Usually lawyers do. So the question is, do we make checklists for the little things? I'm sure we make checklists for the big things, but what about the decisions you make every day? What about, you said you have toddlers. What about getting the toddlers out of the house? Very hard, right? Not for you?
No, it's impossible.
Thank you, thank you. I'm with you there, yes.
Either get them out in time or have them born.
Exactly, you either make it to school or you don't, and it's, yeah. So I'm with you on that. So we started making a checklist. Instead of depleting all my mental energy, figuring out, okay, how am I going to get everyone out of the house? What are all the steps? We try to write it down. So if you have something that you do every day that depletes your mental energy, can you simplify it? Can you write it down? And then use checklists. Use checklists for the big things, but use them for the small things too. All right, that's refocus your brain. Any questions? Ready to move to ingredient 2? All right, now we're at reset your primitive alarms. So get that card out for me. The takeaway here is again at the top in the box, and it says put the brakes on your fight or flight response. So this is about catastrophizing. Who can tell me what catastrophizing is? Go ahead.
What have you ever done that? Everything snowballs and becomes a catastrophe, even the most minor things.
Yeah, it's something we do in our heads. That means we go to worst case scenario. Does that feel right, like what you were saying? Yeah, it's about going to worst case scenario all the time. Here's the kicker. As lawyers, we were all trained to do this. We were trained to go to worst case scenario on behalf of our clients. We were trained to think about the risks, to be risk averse, to think through every scenario. So it's not inherently a bad thing unless we let it take over our mind. And we don't have to do it in every aspect of our lives. So we have to put the brakes on our fight or flight response. Now we are going to watch this video together because this has to do with your amygdala in your brain. I am no neuroscientist, so we have a really good video on this. So if you could just give me a thumbs up in the back if you can hear, so I can be sure we're going to watch this together.
We've all had conversations where we left feeling like they just missed the mark. Why does this happen? Well, part of the reason has to do with our brain, specifically the amygdala. What's the amygdala, you ask? It's only Sarah's favorite part of the brain. The amygdala is the part of the brain that is constantly scanning your environment for threats so that it can move you into action so it can protect you. Those threats might be physical, mental, emotional, or even to our ego. One of the ways I like to think about the amygdala is to imagine it's this shaky little neurotic chihuahua. It's shaking and it's nervous and it's ready to bark at anything that it perceives as a threat. Some of us have more neurotic chihuahuas than others. So what does any of this have to do with conversations? When our amygdala is triggered, it hijacks our brain. It pumps our body and our brain full of these chemicals and hormones that shut down parts of our brain. So we lose access to things like logic and reasoning, problem solving, listening, and empathy. All things pretty important to building trust. So when my amygdala is triggered or when your amygdala is triggered, there's no way we can connect and build trust in the same way as when we're calm. So what do you do if you notice the amygdala has been hijacked in you or the other person? That is a really good time to step away, take a breath, and regroup when both parties have had a chance to breathe. Here's your challenge. I want you to do an amygdala audit. Think about a time when you had a stress response, and think about what did it feel like when you were going through that. Because the more aware you are about your response, the more likely you can catch it when it's happening in the moment. Or you're more likely to notice it in someone else. And remember, play fully brave.
All right, so that's our amygdala. So what do? Well, this card, this strategy is about noticing it. All you have to do is notice it. Because when we try to deny or suppress that it's happening, we make it worse and we make it last longer. So we need to just figure out how to notice that this is happening. So for me, it sounds like this. Whoa, I think I'm catastrophizing. That is what I say to myself, sometimes in my head, sometimes out loud, it depends. You can decide what you want it to sound like for you. Maybe it's a code word, maybe it's catastrophizing. The book also uses the word awfulizing. So you get to decide what you want it to be. The point is, you just have to stop and notice it. What does my body feel like? What is my brain doing? Am I going to worst case scenario? Because again, denying it, suppressing it makes it last longer. And then we can recognize triggers and reframe, but we are not quite there yet. That will come up in the next framework. All right, so it takes 6 seconds, once you've noticed it, for those chemicals in your brain to dissipate. And that's if you use those 6 seconds really well. So let's talk about how you can use those 6 seconds. So first, you can do those deep belly breaths. So let's just, at your seat, do a few. So I'm talking about those deep breaths from your belly, not from your chest, that feel more like hyperventilating. There's all sorts of numbers out there. People say in for 5, hold for 7, out for 5. That's a good one. Do what feels comfortable for you. I don't want anybody passing out on me, but the point is, just take really deep breaths from your belly for 6 seconds. I'm not going to do that, but just keep that one in mind. The next, I do like to do with audiences. You've been good sports so far, so I'm hoping you'll continue. This is called the 5 senses exercise. You're going to identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So I'd love to do this together. So you're just going to shout at me. I'm not going to point at you. I realize that induces stress responses and we don't want that. So let's just name 5 things we can see. Lights.
You.
Chair.
You.
Me. Camera.
Adorable little baby.
Little baby. All right, 4 things we can touch.
Table.
iPhone.
Table, iPhone.
Yeah.
Pin. Do that pin. 1 more. Where are your feet?
Floor.
The floor. That's always a good one. Feel where your body is. This is a grounding exercise. 3 things you can hear. Me.
Ventilation.
Ventilation.
Somebody clicking a pen.
Someone clicking a pin. 2 things you can smell. Who just got picked on?
Which one is
Give me 1 more thing. Laundry detergent. Okay, we got it. And someone said coffee. And then 1 thing you can taste.
Mark Bavari.
That's
My Sprite.
Thank you. Yeah, now we're just picking on each other. Okay, so thank you for doing that. You will not do it like that in the moment, I don't think. But it's helpful just to hear what this sounds like so that you can do it in your own head. It only takes 6 seconds. This exercise may take about 10. You can be doing it quietly anywhere. I mean, you could be sitting in front of a judge. You could be about to talk to a jury. You could be maybe thinking of your own life. You could be about to go into a board meeting, a meeting with your supervisor that you're worried about. And you could be sitting there and identifying 5 things you can see and taste and touch and smell, and no one has to know but you. This next one I love. In the interest of time, I am going to skip the video, but who's heard of the power pose? Not that many hands, maybe 1. Okay. If this resonates with you, I hope you'll let me know because I love the power pose. I find it really helpful myself. So there's a great TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, again, that I'm going to skip today, but I invite you to go watch. So I'll do my best to explain it. It's literally getting your body in a position that's open and big and powerful. Research has shown that that reduces our cortisol and creates a better stress response. They studied people that were going in for interviews. And she says, you know, how do people typically look before they go in for an interview? Their bodies. Yeah, hunched over, looking at your notes, thinking about everything you're going to say. When she says, maybe what we should be doing is standing in the bathroom like this for 2 minutes. So the power pose can look different for everyone, but the point is I want you to be big and strong and take up space. People have told me they did this before the bar exam, they do this in the elevator on the way up to a jury, they do it before an interview. I invite you to watch this video, it's really powerful. I won't, unless someone volunteers, does anyone want to show a power pose? I won't force you. Usually someone, all right, I did it for all of us? Okay. Well, I invite you to find your power pose in a moment where you don't need it. So, you know, do you want your hands on your hips? Do you want your hands up high? So that when you do need it, all you have to do is go find a space, do it, and then, you know, recognize the effects it has for you. All right, let's go to reframe your attitude. Next card. Again, the takeaway is at the top, and that is that our thoughts shape our reality. So our mind is a really powerful thing, right? So let's go ahead and watch this one together.
When I was 7 years old and my sister was just 5 years old, we were playing on top of a bunk bed. I was 2 years older than my sister at the time. I mean, I'm 2 years older than her now, but at the time that meant she had to do everything that I wanted to do, and I wanted to play war. So we were up on top of our bunk beds, and on one side of the bunk bed I had put out all my G.I. Joe soldiers and weaponry, and on the other side were all my sister's Milos and ponies and ready for a cavalry charge. There are differing accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story. Which is my sister is a little bit on the clumsy side, and somehow, without any help or push from her older brother at all, suddenly Amy disappeared off the top of the bunk bed and landed with us crashed on the floor. And I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had befallen my fallen sister, and saw that she had landed painfully on her hands and knees on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of an oncoming imaginary sniper bullet, for which I have yet to be thanked. I was trying as hard as I could. She didn't even see it coming. I was trying as hard as I could to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's face this wail of pain and suffering and surprise, threatening to erupt from her mouth and threatening to wake my parents from the long winter's nap for which they had settled. So I did the only thing my little frantic 7-year-old brain could think to do to avert this tragedy. If you have children, you've seen this hundreds of times before. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry, don't cry. Did you see how you landed? No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're a unicorn. And that was cheating, because there's nothing in the world my sister would want more than not to be Amy, the hurt 5-year-old little sister, but Amy, the special unicorn. Of course, this was an option that was open to her brain at no point in the past. And you could see on my poor, manipulated sister's face conflict. As her little brain attempted to devote resources to feeling the pain and suffering surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. And the latter one, instead of crying, instead of ceasing our play, instead of waking my parents with all the negative consequences that would have ensued for me, instead, a smile spread across her face, and she scrambled right back up onto the bunk bed with all the grace of a baby unicorn. With one broken leg. Well, we stumbled.
All right, so what he goes on to say is that our thoughts shape our reality. So the authors of Micro-Resilience give us a framework for this. They call it the ABCDE framework. So there's the activating event, there's our beliefs about the event, there's the consequences. Then they ask us to dispute your beliefs and energize new beliefs. So what this is actually at a basic level cognitive behavioral therapy, if you've heard of that. So I like to describe cognitive behavioral therapy as a triangle. So if you could imagine that with me, we have our two bases of our triangle, and that's the activating event and the consequence. A thing happens, a consequence flows from that. Feels pretty right? Like, feels like how most people would describe the world. Well, there's something huge missing, and that's the top of our triangle, and that's our belief about the event. Everything flows through our belief about the event before it gets to the consequence. So our beliefs are really important in determining what our life looks like. So let's walk through an examples of this together. You lose a big case, okay? So the person with more difficult coping skills, their beliefs, the top of their triangle, might sound like this. I can't seem to do anything right. I'm stupid, I'm out of my league. This was all my fault. Now let's look at the person with more successful coping skills. Same thing happened, she lost a big case. She might say, this is a tough result, but it's only one case and I've been successful in others. I didn't prepare enough on this case. I love that this one is here on the successful coping side because it feels negative in a way, you know, you didn't prepare enough. But the point is, you can prepare more next time, right? You have control over this. And then lastly, we had really bad facts on this case. It just wasn't meant to be. Do you see how the consequences that flow from these people's beliefs may be drastically different depending on how they explain the event to themselves? Good. All right, so the authors of Micro-Resilience also call this our explanatory style. So you'll see on your card PPP to CCC. What this is about is how we view challenges. So if you are a PPP thinker, you view challenges as permanent, prevalent, and personal. We want to try to be more of a CCC thinker, where you ask yourself these 3 questions. What's the challenge to be tackled? What choices can I make? And what am I committed to? I'll give you a second to write those down because I know they're just abbreviated on your card. So if you're not sure what your explanatory style is, these are some good questions to start asking yourself. Okay, move on, but let me know if I need to go back. So then they also tell us you can keep a log, you know. Again, if you're not sure what your explanatory style is as you sit here, then maybe you want to keep a log of what happens to you throughout the day and just jot down notes to yourself on how you explained things to yourself that happened to you throughout the day. And then in a week's time, maybe a couple days' time, go back and look at your notes. Did it turn out that you were internalizing the bad but deflecting the good? With a little perspective, was the thing that felt so bad and so difficult in the moment, did it actually turn out okay? Could you have thought about it differently? So this is a good exercise if you're not sure what your explanatory style is. Now, it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but that's because, like I told you, something that resonates with you may not resonate with your neighbor and vice versa. So this next video is about how we don't actually have to decide if anything is good or bad. So let's watch this together in case this is as powerful for you as it is for me.
There's an ancient parable about a farmer who lost his horse, and neighbors came over to say, "Oh, that's too bad." And the farmer said, "Good or bad? Hard to say." Days later, the horse returns and brings with it 7 wild horses, and neighbors come over to say, "Oh, that's so good." And the farmer just shrugs and says, "Good or bad? Hard to say." The next day, the farmer's son rides one of the wild horses, is thrown off, and breaks his leg. And the neighbors say, "Oh, that's terrible luck." And the farmer says, "Good or bad? Hard to say." Eventually, officers come knocking on people's doors looking for men to draft for an army, and they see the farmer's son and his leg, and they pass him by. And neighbors say, "Ooh, that's great luck." And the farmer says, "Good or bad? Hard to say." I first heard this story 20 years ago, and I have since applied it 100 times. Didn't get the job I wanted. Good or bad? Hard to say. Got the job I wanted. Good or bad? Hard to say. To me, the story is not about looking on the bright side or waiting to see how things turn out. It's about how eager we can be to label a situation, to put concrete around it by judging it. But reality is much more fluid, and good and bad are often incomplete stories that we tell ourselves. The parable has been my warning that by gripping tightly to the story of good or bad, I close down my ability to truly see a situation. I learn more when I proceed and loosen my grip and proceed openly with curiosity and wonder. Good or bad, hard to say. Good or bad, hard to say.
All right, so yeah, when someone in my life told me about good or bad, hard to say, it was life-changing. And it's helpful to have an accountability partner in this. So if someone in your life hears you talking about your day and notices some catastrophizing or something going on, if there's someone you trust and want to talk about this with, to just say, good or bad, hard to say, that can be really helpful. So hopefully that resonates for some of you. Some other tools, a joy kit. So this is about having an emotional first aid kit. So it can be physical, where you gather up things that mean something to you, pictures, souvenirs, things like that. Remember, it can also be digital. So you can put something on, a little file on the desktop of your computer, call it Joy Kit, and when you get praise, when you get positive feedback, when someone tells you good job, a picture you really like, put that all on your desktop so that when you're having that tough day and you feel yourself, going into that explanatory style that's more difficult, remind yourself, I've been successful before, here's my proof. So this can be physical, digital, it can include songs, so get really creative with your Joy Kit. Gratitude. Bottom line here about gratitude is that it has major health benefits to express gratitude. So the challenge I have for you is for 30 days straight, I want you to list something you're grateful for. The real challenge is no repeats, okay? So there are health benefits to exercising gratitude in this way. People report fewer health complaints, they exercise more, feel better about their lives as a whole, get more sleep, and feel more connected. A great thing to know about this is even on days where you can't find something to be grateful for, the searching has the exact same health benefits. Okay, I'm going to go quickly through this next framework, Refresh Your Body, and then we're going to spend a little more time on the 5th framework, and then you're going to hear from Ann Carroll for a few minutes. So we have a lot to get through in the next 10 minutes, but don't worry, I usually do speed through this framework, not because it's not important, but because it is going to be a lot of things that you've heard before, but are good reminders. So refresh your body, get that card out. The takeaway is keep your tank full. Now, I'm not going to play this video, but I'm going to show it for a quick second, for a reason. Anybody know what that is? Okay, we're going to circle back to how quickly you all identified that, okay? But yes, it's the Betty White Snickers commercial. Point is, our brain needs food and water just as much as our bodies do. So don't get hangry, stay hydrated, make it fun, put fruit ice cubes in your drink if you need it, get a water bottle that you really like, make it fun for yourself somehow. And remember what Bonnie told us at the very beginning. If you're like, oh, I drink water all the time. Do you drink water when you're stressed? When you're making a difficult decision? When you really need it? So that's how you level up in that challenge. Okay, I told you I would go really quick there. So let's get to the 5th framework, and that is renew your spirit. Now this one, remember, this is micro-resilience, so I'm not asking you to find meaning and purpose in all of human existence. That would be too much. That would not be micro-resilience. But how do we find meaning and purpose in our everyday? So this, oops, what did I do? Maybe it's low battery or something. To ditch the clicker. Okay. Sorry. 1 second. It's like glitching on me. We're almost there. This video is worth it if I can get it to play. Maybe not. Okay. So this is Angela Duckworth. She wrote the book called Grit, if anyone has read that book. You can YouTube this. It was just a quick snippet. But she says, we need to think about our ultimate concern. So we have a hierarchy of goals, okay? So imagine, your low-level goals are your return that email, return that phone call, write that memo, these low-level goals. And it all branches up into our highest level goal, which is our ultimate concern. What am I all about? What do I really care about? If we make sure that those things are all aligned, then even our day-to-day that can sometimes feel like a drudge, right? Even our day-to-day, if we know that all of our goals are in line and they ultimately serve our ultimate concern, then it can get us through every day. So that's what that video is about, but we'll just skip it. But the exercise that we did in the very beginning of today was you kind of getting a start at being a values detective. So your paper, if it's helpful to you that I am, pin it up in your office. That was you being a values detective. What's important to you? Who are you? You're a whole person. And think about if your goals, your day-to-day activities, and your ultimate concern, if they are all in line, and if not, what adjustments might you need to make. The authors of Micro-Resilience give us some other ideas. They say, make a list of 15 to 20 things you would like to do, have, or be in the life of your dreams. What are your top 5? Again, kind of getting our goals in line. How do your day-to-day activities align? What's your tagline? I said we'd circle back to the Snickers commercial. Did you notice how quickly everyone identified that? Yeah, so I'm not going to do this, but if I said, name, X company's corporate slogan, this company, this, we could probably identify multiple jingles, slogans, right, commercials. So if we can do that for the corporate world, let's make sure we can do that for ourselves. So come up with a couple words. What's your tagline? What's important to you? In those stressful moments, Do you know what your purpose is? And then keep a touchstone, something that can physically represent what's important to you. It can be small, in your office, that just kind of centers you into what is important to you. All right. I'm going to do a quick blurb on JLAP and how we can help you. And then in our last 5 minutes, we have Ann Carol Nash over here. She's going to come up and talk with you about the JLAP Treatment Fund. So let me get through a little bit about JLAP, and then we'll invite Ann Carol up. But quickly, micro-resilience is about little things, right? So I want you to just identify one thing, maybe two, that you heard today that you're like, I'm going to try that power pose. I'm going to try, fresh fruit ice cubes in my water. And then set some reminders for yourself. Little things develop over time, and they make a big difference. So you don't have to tackle everything all at once. If you do tackle something, I'd love to hear about it, what worked for you, and how you've incorporated it into your life. All right, JLAP is here to help you. So I'm going to skim through this, but there's research that tells us that lawyers are experiencing problem drinking, depression, anxiety. The lawyers that are in their first 10 years of practice are being probably most affected by this. It would be remiss of us not to recognize that people of color in the legal profession are disproportionately impacted by rates of depression, anxiety, and feelings of isolation. So JLAP, here is our mission statement. I want to point out the words competence. You're here because you wanted to be right, but also because you're getting ethics credits for this. There's a reason for that. Our Chief Justice has said well-being topics make you a more competent professional. So there's a real connection there in investing in your well-being and being a competent professional. We want you to know that JLAP is confidential. That's embedded in 2 places in the rules, Admission and Discipline, Rule 31, and Professional Conduct, Rule 8.3. People come to JLAP for all sorts of reasons. Here's our 2022 data. I don't have time to go through the whole graph with you, but I want to point out the situational stressors make up 37% of our calls. So that's things like, I'm a caregiver for a loved one. I'm experiencing burnout at my workplace. I'm feeling isolated. I feel a little more stressed than I think I should when I'm preparing for trial, those kinds of things. So remember, you can come to JLAP for anything. Here's the occupations of people that JLAP helped in 2022. The largest percentage is attorney, but you can see there's judicial officer, law students, court staff. JLAP provides a safe place to seek help. Only 5% or less of our cases are formal referrals. Otherwise, people have come to us either self-referred or by a third-party referral. And then let's just really quickly talk about what happens when you call. You decide to ask for help. You give JLAP a call. It can be via phone or email. We're going to collect some demographic data, but you can choose to stay completely anonymous, and you're going to tell us what's going on and how we can help you. That initial contact, we listen. We provide support. We may ask a few follow-up questions. Maybe your question was simple enough that it's done in that, we answer you in that one conversation. But most often, we're going to schedule a follow-up appointment. Still completely confidential, no cost to you. We can meet by video. We can meet in person. Happy to come to you, meet you halfway, whatever you need. And together we develop a plan. So that plan, I want to make sure you know about all of JLAP services. We have a network of 250 plus volunteers, Ann Carol being one of them, that we can pair you with. We have support groups. We have 5 different support groups, all virtual, that you can attend, from caregiver to addiction issues to grief and loss to connection. And we can help you find a provider. So that could mean, you need a primary care physician. That could mean you need a cognitive assessment. Most often it means you want to find a therapist. We have a long database of therapists. We can do the legwork for you. Do they take my insurance? Are they going to understand my lived experience? Come to us. We'll help you with that. If you decide it wasn't a good match, let me know. We'll go at it again. So those are JLAP services in a nutshell. But remember, even if you just heard something today that you liked, a micro-resilience tip, give us a call. I'd love to talk with you about that. We're here for that too. And as I cue this up, if you could come up, and Carol, except I'm not seeing it here. If you could help me. And then in our next 3 minutes, Ann Carol Nash is going to tell you about the JLAP Treatment Fund. Ann Carol is an esteemed JLAP committee member and volunteer, and I'm super happy that she's here with us. So thank you for your time and attention. I'll hang out for a little bit today, so I hope you'll come say hi and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Isn't she wonderful? We are so fortunate to have Brittany with us at JLab. I have been a volunteer for a long time, and I'm on the JLab statewide committee. I love it. I love all things JLab. And as Brittany explained, what JLab does for you, it does for free. The state pays for staff, a fabulous staff, to help with all of the things that she described that are done for you for free. JLab also will help you find a treatment provider. Sometimes people need an assessment. Sometimes they need an inpatient stay. Sometimes they need intensive outpatient. You know, sometimes they just need to talk to a therapist from time to time. Most of those things seem to be mental health or substance use related, which are two of the larger reasons that people contact JLab, although please don't think it's just about those things. It is about so many other things like the stressors and the grief and the other things that get in the way of practice, anything that gets in the way of practice. For some people, the lawyer facing, you know, some sort of catastrophe loses his or her job, then loses his or her insurance, or does not have adequate insurance to cover all of the cost of treatment, all of the cost of assessment, or an inpatient stay. A 2-week program or a month-long program is very daunting for many lawyers. And so JLab's treatment fund is available to help with that. It is a fund through the Indiana Bar Foundation, and it is completely supported by donations from anyone who wants to donate. And the good news is we keep using it, and that's because more and more people are showing that they really need it. And they're coming, they know more about JLab, and they know, you know, to contact JLab, which is great, but you know, we need to provide it. When people are facing the financial struggles of, you know, losing the job and needing treatment and all those other things, JLab will help by assessing the financial need, looking at the person's budget, looking at the entire situation, and the staff who are doing the assessment then will turn to the committee and ask the committee for permission to use a certain amount of funds for assistance for the person. JLab can help negotiate the cost of treatment, and providers are more than happy to work with JLab to do that. And people can use the funds, and if they're able to return them someday, great, but there's not an obligation to do so. We want the fund to be available. You know, it's usually not the entire cost of anything. It's usually just a small percentage, but it's enough to help that person get in the door of someone who can provide treatment.
Just hit the arrow.
The arrow. There. I was going to be a real hot shot and tell you that just this morning I got into this website that's referred to in here, and I couldn't. So
we got in together.
But if you go to InBar Foundation, type all of that in .org, then you can find an easy way to make a donation online. There, if you go into the Indiana Bar Foundation website, you find the donate place, which they're more than happy to help you get to. There are several funds that from which you can select, or you can have undesignated. We're asking that you select the JLab Treatment Fund and make a donation that way. But for those of us who like to write checks and send mail, we also have envelopes that the Bar Foundation provides, and we just ask that in making a selection and writing a check, you note that it is for the JLAP Treatment Fund. So I don't want to keep you any longer because I know it's lunchtime, but I thank you very much for thinking about this. If you have any questions, I'm always eager to talk about it.